You're listening to Motherhood in Between, the show for moms who want to rebuild their bodies, reclaim their energy, and keep pursuing the lives they're called to during the season between babies. I'm your host, Lauran Saunders, registered dietitian, mom of 2 and counting, and founder of Nourished Moms Collective. I help moms recover from their last pregnancy, prepare for their next one, and support their bodies and ambitions in the in-between season of motherhood. Because motherhood shouldn't mean depletion, and your dreams don't disappear when you become a mom. So whether you're rebuilding your health, rediscovering your identity, or growing something meaningful alongside your family, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. If you're here listening to this, I assume you probably have at least one child, maybe more, and you know that you want to continue growing your family. But at the same time, you might be feeling like your body is not quite 100%, whether that's not ready to get pregnant as soon as you want to get pregnant, or you just feel like you are in the throes of motherhood and you were just surviving day in and day out. That was me after my first baby. I had a daughter, and I knew that I wanted to have another baby relatively soon. Literally at 4 months postpartum, I was like, I think I want to have another baby. How do I get my period back so that I can do that? I knew I wanted 2 under 2. And as I was recovering from that first pregnancy, I was really trying to look for information on how to prepare my body for another one and have that close gap in between. And I realized there are not very many resources for moms who just had a baby, who are recovering postpartum, but also want to get pregnant in the semi-near future. There's just not resources for it. However, there are so many of us who are in this season who know that we want to have kids close together or even within a few years. And there is just not opportunities for us to learn how to take care of our body. And that gap felt really obvious to me. As moms, we need more information on how to actually recover postpartum with a preconception lens for those of us who want to have more children. And I would even argue that for postpartum recovery in general, we actually do need a lot more information on that beyond just encouraging moms to lose the postpartum weight. And I'm sure I will probably bring this up again, but I truly think that the priority that society has put on postpartum weight loss and getting your body back, I think that is the reason why it's also so normalized that moms are tired and exhausted all the time. When we're prioritizing shrinking our bodies right after that baby gets out, of course we're not going to have the nutrient reserves to have energy, to have optimal hormone functioning, or optimal gut health, or for our brain to not feel so foggy. It makes complete sense that if you are prioritizing postpartum weight loss and just being as small as possible, you're probably not going to be feeling super great and fabulous in your body. But when you do replenish it and prioritize what was taken from it, this is where we actually see success. So what does it actually look like? What do we need? Well, we need to be replenishing what pregnancy actually took from us, what lactation, postpartum, mothering small children actually take. And unfortunately, a lot of what is out there marketed toward moms really falls into bounce back culture and getting your body back to how it was before you had a baby, acting as if you never even had a baby, getting back into your pre-baby jeans. However, I have found that with many of the clients that I work with, when we focus on that replenishment, healing the thyroid, your metabolism, your gut, your mineral foundation, supporting inflammation, all of that supports your hormones, and often weight loss is actually just a happy byproduct that happens when our body is optimized. Inside of Nourished Moms Collective, which is my private coaching practice, we do functional testing. So we don't necessarily just guess what your body needs after having a baby. We know exactly what it is because those tests tell us what to prioritize. That's where I have seen moms who are breastfeeding and have a flourishing milk supply, and they are easily and naturally losing weight postpartum without actually trying to, because they're finally nourishing their body. Even though their last postpartum, they couldn't maintain a milk supply and they ended up gaining a lot of weight. This is also where I've seen moms who finally feel like they can relax, and so many women who are wired but so tired and they feel like their body and their mind can't fully relax now can feel like things are quiet. They don't have mom brain 24/7, and they can actually function optimally again. This is also where I've seen moms who are postpartum and breastfeeding but want to have another baby even though their menstrual cycle hasn't returned yet at 9, 10, 11, even up to 18 months postpartum. This is where when we focus on that nourishment and prioritizing what their body needs, their menstrual cycle returns within just a few weeks and they're able to get pregnant on the cycle after. All of this and so much more is possible. But I would just want to emphasize that taking care of your physical body in that in-between season between babies can help you in such a long way, whether that is having another baby sooner rather than later, or getting your body ready for another pregnancy, or even just enjoying the season of motherhood that you're in, because there are so many moms who are not enjoying taking care of their little kids because they don't feel good in their body. And I'm not talking about not feeling good about the weight or how their body looks, but physically not feeling well, having poor energy, having moodiness, brain fog, snapping at their kids, feeling mom rage that they never thought they would ever experience. So many women are just dealing with that, and we're taught as a society that that is just part of being a mom and mothering small kids. It's normal to be totally exhausted, when in fact, that's not normal, nor does it have to be your normal. Becoming a mom is a huge identity shift that I think a lot of us can relate to, and a lot of us can feel really lost in ourselves after we have a baby. Because if you think about it, before you had kids, you could probably go wherever you wanted, whenever you wanted. You could do whatever you want to do, or maybe whatever your partner wants to do. You're not really constrained to the confines of a small human. Whereas afterward, you most definitely can go do what you want to do, but there is also that mental load of, if I'm not back by the time this kid needs to nap and we don't have an hour-long nap, it's going to ruin the rest of our day and our evening is going to be miserable. Or we just feel really constrained to boundaries that often we put ourselves, but boundaries on making sure that our kids are supported, that our kids are the center of our world, that we stay on our kids' schedule, that we're hitting the naps, that we're hitting bedtime, that we're hitting feedings, especially if you have a little baby, you're feeding around the clock. You're not doing what you used to do whenever you wanted to do it. And for so many of us, that is such a big identity shift, losing that sense of individuality in who we are. And I think a lot of women, and even myself included, have struggled finding ourselves and following our own ambitions outside of motherhood once we became a mom. And I think that so many of us will fall into the mindset that this time of having babies is almost like a waiting period of, I'll just wait till I have my fourth baby and then I will get the body of my dreams. Or I'll wait until I'm done breastfeeding and then I can prioritize XYZ. Or when my youngest is finally in kindergarten and I have some time to myself, then I will focus on that business venture that I've been thinking about. But I actually think that this time between babies is a really powerful rebuilding phase. Yes, quite literally, when it comes to your body, we should be focusing on rebuilding. But I also think that figuratively, when it comes to your identity as a mom and outside of being a mom, there is a lot of potential here. I found that after my first baby, my creativity for my business, Nourish Moms Collective, all of that, it actually skyrocketed. Now, at the time, it was just a little side hustle. I was working full-time at a hospital as our women's and children's dietitian, and I was given the traditional American 12-week maternity leave. And I was very excited and very eager for that time off. And 2 weeks in, I was just itching to do something, and my brain just felt so creative. I had so many ideas now being in this postpartum season that I found myself joining a women's health seminar and learning from maternal psychologists, psychiatrists, lactation counselors, other dietitians, and all of these professionals in the motherhood space. And a lot of what I learned there completely turned into my 4th trimester course that I used to sell. And I launched it and had a whole cohort of clients in that course, all over my 12-week maternity leave when I was supposed to be resting. Now, for me, I actually quite enjoyed that. I enjoyed the flexibility and the freedom that I had stepping out of my healthcare role. And I just found that I was really itching to be creative and to use my brain. And this is where I really started to notice that gap, that we have a lot of information out there on postpartum recovery and a lot of information on postpartum weight loss, but we don't have a ton of information on recovering after you have a baby and also setting yourself up for future pregnancies and future fertility. And I had put together that little postpartum course. That's when my brain and my gears really started turning, because I myself knew that I wanted my kids close together. And I started really thinking about, okay, what is it my body's going to need to be able to handle having back-to-back babies? If you look at any of the research, it tells you to not have pregnancies closer than like 2 to 3+ years apart. And for me, I wanted 2 under 2. That's, getting pregnant within a year of being pregnant. And so many women are also in that same boat, desiring that. So you need to be even more intentional with how you're trying to recover from that previous pregnancy and setting yourself up for success for the next one. And so over my first maternity leave, that 12-week maternity leave, is when I really kind of started thinking this way and began creating some resources for my clients. And now I am not at all in any way endorsing or encouraging you to not rest during your maternity leave. And there certainly was a lot of rest that I did. But for myself, I found that it was actually a really powerful time to reflect on what I wanted, reflecting on what I wanted in motherhood and what I wanted my life to look like. And I knew I did not want to continue working at the hospital that I was at. And in fact, at my 6-week mark on my maternity leave, I ended up calling my manager and saying, hey, can I actually drop down my hours? I can't come back at the same capacity that I was at before. And she was actually just so thrilled that I was not quitting, that she was like, yes, we will work with whatever you need to do. And I realized during that time the balance that I wanted for motherhood and also for work and the work that I was wanting to do with my own business. I had such a passion and desire that really ignited once I became a mom, and I didn't want to lose that simply because I was mothering small children. Now, maybe you had an idea in the back of your mind thinking, how could I even do that with young kids? Whatever that might be, whether it's, starting a business or building your business or even just starting extracurricular activities in your neighborhood. For myself, I found that following my passion and leaning into my creativity with my business has actually allowed me to be more present with my kids. Like I said, I was working at a hospital as a clinical dietitian. I, had to have someone watch my baby when I went to work. And now I have the flexibility to stay home with my kids. I have my own schedule that I can create, and I can be really present and actually enjoy the time that I have with my babies. I also think I have a really interesting perspective because growing up, my mom was always the breadwinner in our family. I definitely did not have a stay-at-home mom. Mine climbed the corporate ladder, and I was always bound and determined that that was going to be me. I was going to go into healthcare and climb that ladder just like she did. However, when I finally started working in healthcare as a clinical dietitian, I realized absolutely not. I think I want to be a stay-at-home mom. And I will say I have so much respect for stay-at-home moms. They truly do so much for their kids, and being present for your kids is amazing. And I truly feel that some are called for something alongside being a mother. And I actually don't just mean working outside of being a mom. There can be so many other ways to cultivate your passion and your creativity that don't involve joining the workforce, so that's not what I'm trying to say here at all. And for me, becoming a mother, like I said, unlocked a lot of that creativity and honestly a lot of potential for when it comes to getting stuff done. And I think anyone who is a mom knows that now you can multitask like it is nobody's business. You could feed your baby in one hand while sauteing dinner at the stove in the other hand and like kicking a ball away for your toddler with your foot. And now on the flip side, also when it comes to being a working mom, I am so much more efficient than I ever was before I had kids when it comes to my work and my business and just my time management skills now. I've been building my business, yes, in between babies. I did finally quit my healthcare job before having my second baby, my son, but also quite literally building a business in between being a mom and having small children, breastfeeding my baby while answering client messages, rocking the baby at my feet while I'm on a client call. And I know so many women are in that same boat too, where motherhood and ambition don't have to compete. That is one reason why I am so passionate about moms actually enjoying this season in between babies. You should feel good in your body, in your mind, and these years between babies, building your family, figuring out who you are as a mom and outside of being a mom, it's so valuable for the groundwork in whatever it looks like for you in what you're creating. Like I said, it doesn't have to be building a side hustle or having a job or a business, but having some creativity outside of motherhood helps me to be a better mom and to actually enjoy this season as I am mothering small children and growing my family. And I truly believe that every mom should have the physical and mental capacity to do whatever it is that she puts her mind to. And often that requires you to feel good in your body, in your energy, to have a strong metabolism to support your fertility hormones so you can actually, like I said, feel good in your body to accomplish any of those goals that you set out for. This season between babies is not a waiting room for your next pregnancy or your next phase of life. It is one of the most important windows for rebuilding your body and also rebuilding the motherhood that you want to live. If you're in this season right now, if you're raising a little one, if you're wondering when you'll feel like yourself again, or you're thinking about having another baby someday, and you're also wondering how to even fit your own personal dreams alongside motherhood, you are exactly who this podcast before. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with another mom who's navigating this in between season too. And if you're looking for support replenishing your body between babies, you can learn more about my work at nourishedmomscollective.com. And in the next episode, we are deep diving into why you feel so depleted as a mom in this season and how you can fix it.